Okay, so now we can talk about two shows that I know both of us have been watching and want to talk about a little bit more. We'll start with Blue Eyed Samurai. Blue Eyed Samurai is fucking awesome.
It's
And
unreal.
it is so good. And it is one where, like we just said, I do not like CGI anime. I like it if you use it as like a gimmick within an actual like regular Tron or 2D anime or whatever. That's fine. Like if you use it in like a scene, like because it can add to something. But I very rarely like it as like the main style of animation ever. And I think a great example of that is like the Berserk adaptation that they did. Maybe the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. It is just visually so abrasive. It's fucking crazy.
It makes you like sick watching it
Yeah.
at points. Like the way it moves makes you like nauseous, like to look at. Like it is unbelievable.
And it looks like there's no way they can have, I don't know what the deal is, but like there's almost seems to be no way that they could animate it where it doesn't look like a PS2 cutscene or some bullshit. And like, it's just gross. And it takes away from a story so much, especially like a dramatic or more like serious story, like a Berserk or something like that. Like if you're doing something goofy, like, yeah, whatever, it might be fine. But like, that ain't it. Like Berserk ain't a goofy thing.
No.
Maybe the antithesis of goofy. But Blue Eyed Samurai, 3D animated story of like a samurai on revenge, woman posing as a male samurai, just going on this whole fucking tour of like serial adventure, not serial adventure is maybe the wrong term here, but like serialized revenge. And it's so fucking good. It's so well crafted, the story, the lore. And then like you add on to that, the kills, the movement, the dialogue. Like I struggled. Like I know I was just trying to think about how to like put together how you think about the movie, but like, or the series, I struggle so hard to think about what I don't like about the series. And there's like almost nothing I dislike about it.
The one thing I can pick out is like, there might be a little too much nudity. Like early on, like, like you get, there's some dicks, like there's just a lot of dicks at one point and you're just kind of like, okay, that's a lot. But it's not to the point where you're like, I'm going to turn this off. It's just like, oh, that's out of nowhere. But outside of that, yeah, no, it's, in terms of CG animation, I almost said CG animation, it's as good as I've ever seen. Like in terms of like the way it moves, like the way the action moves, it is gorgeous to look at. And they did something interesting. I was looking into it, is they like commissioned a bunch of different artists to do the backdrops. So that's a 2D backdrop that they're doing with the CG animation happening in front of it. And they had all these artists. They all shared the different artworks they had done, the different backgrounds they had done on Twitter. So if you go search like Blue Eye Samurai on Twitter, you'll probably find like a few of the artists where they just share like the backdrops they did. And they're gorgeous to look at just alone. The voice cast, unbelievable.
Yes, the voice cast is awesome.
Maya Erskine knocked it out of the park as the lead character. There'll be some other voices you'll recognize. Most notably, I think Randall Park jumped out immediately at me. I was like, that's Randall Park.
Kenneth Branagh, Brenda Song.
Branagh, yeah. What the fuck?
Stephanie Su, Ming Na Wang,
and
Harry Shum.
Yeah, the writer. I mean, this should have been. The writer is written by the guy who's going to write Blade. He did Logan, Blade Runner 2049.
Michael Green.
Yeah. It really shocked me. I thought like the trailer was intriguing to me when I first saw it. I was like, oh, interesting. Gory anime. Netflix has done a lot of them. This one looks pretty interesting. So I was like, all right, I'm going to watch it. I got one episode in and was like, okay, this is pretty fucking good. And then I tore through like 3 immediately and was like, oh, this is really good. Finished it all the next day. This is going to be like one of those like Netflix classics. Like, this will stick around. They'll do multiple seasons of it. There'll be a lot of build up for the next season. Yeah, I posted a TikTok about it, and every single, like, usually you post like a recommendation like that, and there'll be people being like, oh, this shit sucks. Fuck you. Like, just shit like that. Literally none. I have like, there's like 50,000 likes and 1,000 comments on it, and they're all positive. Like, this show is mass appeal. It's John Wick with Milan. I'm blown away by it.
Very, very John Wicky. It's just like watching someone get the absolute shit beaten out of them, but they give that shit back like tenfold to the bad guys. And that's just something that's just very appealing. And like the dialogue is very simple. You know what I mean? Like very like, I don't know how to put it, like baseline, stoic, like really good shit. And like, it's never too complicated. It's never getting in the weeds, although you're telling sort of multiple storylines at the same time with like the Princess Akemi stuff and like all those things. Like it always stays very simple, and I think it always kind of stays to the core of this. Let's watch this woman just kill the shit out of a ton of bad guys and root to her revenge. And I think that everything about that rocks. And I like a lot, like there's some episodes where they go off and do something a little bit differently. Like there is the story of the Ronin or whatever episode.
That was my favorite one.
Dude, it's so cool. Like that's such an interesting way to tell a story alongside it. And that's also like the music and the musical cues in it have been awesome too. Like it's just everything about it. I really, really do like a whole ton. And I'd recommend it to anybody, not just people who are fans of anime, not just people who are fans of like, whatever, like that sort of like samurai stuff or whatever. I think it's like you're saying with mass appeal, like anybody could enjoy this pretty easily.
Oh yeah. I don't know who I couldn't recommend this to outside of like just children. Cause it is very like, don't watch this with kids. Like it is fairly gory. Like there are some kills in there where you're like, you can't show that to children. Like ripping someone's teeth out and then killing them with them. Like that's a little absurd, but it's really good. Like very,
and
very
I will
good.
say too, to add on to that, just like all the people that will say like, hey, why are you doing a reboot with like a female led character? Let a female have their own origin story or make it their own unique female story. Like this is it. Like this is the thing you should be supporting. Like you should go watch something like this where it's an original story based around a female action character and support that with everything you got. Cause it's almost like a movie like Atomic Blonde where like that's the type of things that should be like very much propped up more than anything else instead of like a remake or reboot or reimagination or whatever. Yeah. Like an original story, a female character that fucking kicks ass. She is so cool. And like that just everything about that's great.
Yeah, no, the gender swapping is like, I think it's been talked to. No, you're setting the person up to fail when you gender swap a character. Like, cause it just, the comparison's already there. Like, so just, these new characters are what you need to do. And when they do come out, you need to support them hard.
Yeah. With everything.
Yeah. The next one we're going to talk about might be just as good too. Different, very different, but.
Yeah. PLUTO. PLUTO, also anime, also Netflix. This one, not 3D animated, but really, really interesting property, and one that I think we had talked about it a little bit on whatever review. I forget what thing we did with Robbie Fox. Both me and Robbie Fox thought it was like Big Boy.
Yeah, you guys did.
Yeah, we were so confused about it, but it's really just more of like I guess like a futuristic sci-fi detective story in a way, right? I think that's.
Yeah, it's funny that the last series we talked about was written by the guy who wrote Blade Runner 2049, because this series is actually way more like Blade Runner 2049. Like this is what I imagine. Like if HBO wanted to do a anime set in the Blade Runner universe, this is kind of like what it would look like. Like when I flip on an episode, I'm 4 episodes in. By the way, every episode's an hour long, which is if you know anything about animation, that's fucking insane. I can't name a series that's ever done that. But every time I flip an episode on it, I expect the HBO, like you almost expect an HBO logo to pop up on it.
Yeah.
It's such a heavy, serious, like dialogue driven drama.
Yeah. Really, really interesting one, because I think for me anyway, I had again no real idea what to expect from it. Cause like I hear PLUTO, I think of Burger Boy, and then I also think of it being like a goofy little kid thing or whatever. And I'm watching it, I'm like, it's this fucking replicant detective, like just hunting down robots. And they're like, I get to that next episode and it's like the old guy composer and this fucking death fucking bodyguard or whatever. And like all of it is so interesting and such really cool, like world building for something where like some of it will feel like familiar, like you're saying, like Blade Runner or something like that. But like it also kind of builds its own shit out, takes kind of the similar themes, from like old timey detective stories or whatever, Private Dicks and all that shit, and combines it with like all these different like sort of little nuances. And I really, really dig it a lot. And the animation, we were talking about how great it looked in Blue Eyed Samurai. I think it as good or better in here. It is gorgeous. And for something that runs as long as it is, like you're saying, it is crazy.
It's really crazy. Like it looks fantastic. I actually think the Blue Eye Samurai looks better, even though it is CG animation. This looks great though in terms of 2D. Like great look to it. Like I said, the sci-fi elements are very well done. Very, very well done. Like if you like Blade Runner, if you like Terminator, like the Terminator franchise, I'd say has a lot of influence here, or at least
Sure.
I don't know which came out first actually between the manga and Terminator, but
Well, James Cameron had the dream about Terminator. That's what caused Terminator. Don't forget. Nothing
true.
influenced him.
Yeah, it's like you said, like I didn't expect the burger guy, but I did expect like Astro Boy. I was like, Astro Boy's for kids, right? So like when I flipped this on, I was kind of taken back at first. I was like, oh shit, this is kind of heavy. They're dealing with like the essence of man, what makes a human soul a human soul. Like,
yeah,
can a robot paint abstract art, like shit like that, like
compose or
yeah, like it is very deep, very heavy. Like this won't have the mass appeal of Blue Eye Samurai, but I think there's a crowd that'll appreciate this more.
Yeah.
Because it's made with a very specific audience in mind, and that's like just people who love sci-fi and love like those detective mysteries. And you guys will eat this up. True Detective also. I got a lot of vibes from that too.
Sure.
Especially in I'm only 4 episodes in, but the way the kills are set up, like the deaths that they're investigating are very, very similar to what you'll find in True Detective season 1.
You know what constantly was making me laugh was that fucking robot wouldn't stop playing the piano. That old bastard would come on, stop playing my piano, and just dude would not stop playing his piano. It just was cracking me up. But yeah, no, it's very.
Yeah, this guy wrote. I was trying to figure out what his name was. Naoki Urasawa was the original author. It's not actually so I had to do a lot of research on it because I was like kind of lost on like how this actually fits into Astro Boy. Astro Boy. This was based on an arc in Astro Boy. A different author had read Astro Boy, loved it, and basically written his own version of a specific arc within Astro. Nice. Yeah, but he's like considered one of like the greatest authors in manga ever. That's Naoki Urasawa. He's done. Have you ever watched Monster?
No.
Very good. Very, very good. 20th Century Boys. No. So those are two where it's like Netflix, I just expect to turn out garbage. So like this is kind of shocking that we got these back-to-back.
They're becoming an anime house. Everything else they do kind of sucks, but they're becoming an anime house out of nowhere. The cyberpunk thing, like it's crazy.
They put out a lot is the thing. A lot.
That's also true. I don't watch all of it.
Like there's some stuff. What was they had a Black Samurai show last year, which ended up sucking.
Yeah. That was
their Devilman adaptation's pretty good. But yeah, no, these two coming out back to back. We're eating good right now.